Good morning, Chattanooga. This is Cindi and Jody, and we are Real Estate Today.
So, Cindi, how you been?
I'm good.
It's been a very, very busy week in real estate, which is always a good thing. But today we kind of want to jump right into it. One of the things that I'm seeing on a daily basis, I would say, is people feeling like they're in a situation where they can't buy or where they're scared to buy, or they feel like there's some hurdle out there. And I know we talk a lot about the news and the negativity and the things that we're seeing, but I kind of just wanted to put a real, take on it, what we're seeing on the daily, and what some of those hurdles seem to be, and ways that we can work those out.
Well, I mean, affordability is the number one problem that is facing most buyers at this point.
I mean, we were talking at lunch the other day, rent prices are astronomical.
It amazes me, even at like these apartment complexes, how much rent is.
Oh, I mean, it's nothing for, a $2,000 a month rent payment.
Right.
And in real estate, we see that, and that seems insane to us. We're like, why would you pay $2,000 a month in rent? And we were really just, honestly, today's show topic really just came out of a very organic, honest conversation that Cindi and I were having at lunch. Like, why are more people not jumping out of that rental boat and buying if rent is so astronomical? And I think for a lot of people that boils down to affordability and interest rates and what they think they can get and what they feel like the reality is, whether or not that's actually the case. So,
well, and I encourage people to look at what the payments are. So don't just listen to the news and what the interest rates actually are. Run the payments and see what your payments would be versus if you stay in a rental position.
Well, and we're going to talk some definitely about the pros and cons and the reasons that we obviously in this business feel like you should be purchasing a home. But I get it. And I think, price increases and low inventory that push those prices up and high interest rates, have almost kind of made what was a rite of passage for most Americans seem like a little bit of a pipe dream. And we're here to talk to you about how that's not the case and how we can still absolutely make that happen.
Yeah, there's alternatives. I mean, and for first-time home buyers, this is not your forever home. I know that everybody wants to think that, but it's really your stage of life home.
Well, and that's one thing too. I'm going to jump in there with a little bit of statistics, okay? The average first-time home buyer, which that's funny if you know me, to be quoting statistics here, but I was doing some research.
Clearly, I missed my cue there.
Yeah, I was doing some research here. That I can source, by the way. So according to an August 2023 report from Scripps News, so very recent numbers, the average age of the first-time homebuyer in the U.S. was, what do you think, Cindi?
Based on our area, I would have guessed 26, 27.
And we'll touch on that just a little bit, why we think that is the case. Cindi and I both felt like low 20s. How old were you when you bought your first home?
Probably 26.
I was 21. 21 years old. When I say that out loud, I'm like, what? My son is almost 21 and that's not happening anytime soon. But I think that points to some cultural changes, some generational changes, I guess is a better word, that we're starting to see. The average age of the first-time homebuyer in the U.S. as of August 2023 was 36 years old.
That's mind-blowing.
36 years old. And, I put a lot of thought into that. Why is that? How does that affect things? Another statistic that was interesting to me is that in 2022, only 26% of home buyers were first-time home buyers. In 2022, 26%. And that had me really questioning, what has changed? What is different now versus 50%? Yeah.
50% were first-time home buyers in 2010.
Half of the buying market in 2010, which we've been doing this together a long time. I'm not going to throw numbers out that I don't know are correct, but interest rates were pretty darn close to what they are now in 2010. Yeah. Half of the buyers in that market were first-time home buyers versus 26% last year.
Yeah, the difference is in affordability. Then the builders could build for a whole lot less than what they could now.
Yeah, and thinking outside of that box a little bit. What, we talk about the fact that first-time homebuyers are a niche in our market that don't really seem to get affected as much from outside influences because life happens. Things happen. You're going to need to buy a house. You're going to settle down. You're going to move for work, whatever that is. You need housing. Aside from affordability, I'm just jotting down some thoughts this morning. I think people are under the impression that they have to have large down payments. So they're saving up money for down payments, which I think in our parents' generation was the norm. But I also think things like higher education. So many more people are.
I absolutely think that is where a lot of it's come from, because our children's generation, they
so
a lot more of them,
encouraged
yes, they are encouraged. A lot more of them have gone to college than our generation. Our generation, a lot, I would say more than 50%, especially in this area, went straight to work.
And you went straight to work, and that facilitated other life events, whether that was settling down, marriage, starting a family, whatever that looked like. Yeah, buying a home was one of the very first steps that you took. Even really in my generation, that was kind of the majority of the people that I knew got straight out of school, went to work, bought a home, settled down. But I also think that the other flip side of that, with an almost 21-year-old, I'm thinking to myself, so many people are saddled with really high school debt.
Yeah.
So they've got some things.
Well, and so many of the younger generation, that they can work from home. So a lot of them don't want to get tied into one location because they can move. So if they're working remotely, then it really doesn't matter where they're at, and they can just kind of hop around, and they're not going to settle down and buy until they get to a different stage of life.
It cracks me up that you and I are so different, but we really do think the same. The next note that I jotted down was that increase in school debt / moves for work, and flexibility from location creates the need for people to reduce debt, but it also, they're taking longer to settle down, whatever that means, for each individual person. But let's talk a little bit about payments too. We were talking the other day at lunch about if you were to get an FHA loan, what does that look like right now?
FHA is, I think the interest rate we were talking about the other day was a little over 7%, and on a $250,000 loan, 30-year fixed rate, that's going to put your payments at about $614 for principal and interest, not including your tax and insurance.
And, at face value.
And I think when we were doing that, we were actually looking at a townhome that was out in the county. It was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath with a double-car garage. I mean, it was excellent price for $250,000. So we were looking at what that would rent for versus what you could purchase it for.
Yeah, and I think when you see that amount, that takes you back. That's a little bit of a startling amount, but with a relatively small down payment. So I think it's really about perspective. I mean, do you bite the bullet now? Is now a good time? What does that look like?
Is now a good time to buy a house? For some, no, it's not. It's a little painful. It's kind of like dieting. It's not fun when you're doing it, and it's very painful, but the end result is rewarding.
And you're doing it, like Cindi said, for that end result, for long-term financial stability, growing your wealth. One of the most important investments that most Americans make is purchasing a home, and it's one of the smartest when you look at return on your investment, on your
yes
money.
Because you're not just looking at that monthly payment, you're looking at appreciation. So even in we're not going to back up on appreciation. We're not going to see depreciation on values because there's still a housing shortage. I mean, the inventory levels are still very low, and nationwide we still have a very large deficit of housing. So this is nothing like what it was back whenever we saw the crash in 2008, because then for some reason, I mean, we did not have the housing shortage that we have today.
And I never thought that I would say that I was thankful that we were around for that, but I'm thankful. It's given us a lot of perspective, about what a volatile market looks like. Things that we didn't realize were red flags when they were red flags. And I think it gives us a little bit of solace, especially when we're talking to new agents, new team members. about what that really looks like and how this does not feel like that.
No, and even where the market has cooled off, I mean, tremendously compared to, a year ago or even 2 years ago, really cooled off. But like one of our agents on our team last night was out showing a house that had just hit the market at 250, and she was standing outside in line waiting to get in, waiting on her turn, because, homes under 250, there's still a very, very high demand.
And I think that's true in a lot of price ranges. It's just about, being very intentional, pricing correctly, hitting the market at the right time, all of those things. But we're going to take a break in a few minutes. But before we get there, let's talk for just a second about, and I think this is a good lead in for our next segment. A lot of first-time home buyers, and I had to think about this for myself, a lot of first-time home buyers are currently renting what I would consider very high-end apartments. I've been there. I think the housing shortage and the kind of scramble that we've had in the last few years created a need for that. So a lot of people are really renting high-end apartments, rentals, and I think that makes going into your first home, and again, we're going to discuss that a little bit more, but it can really kind of affect your expectations, what you think you're going to get. And I think those low interest rates that we've seen over the last several years have kind of created unrealistic expectations for buyers. You used to get into, I don't know about you, but my first home was very far from what I would consider
that's
my
what
dream home.
Brian and I laugh all the time. Our first home that we purchased together, the largest thing in the entire house was the garage. I mean, it was tiny.
And you went into that house knowing that was a stepping stone. That was a starter home. I don't think I've heard the term starter home in 5 years probably. But again, I think that's one of those, we got so spoiled. And for us that had been in the business for a while, I remember saying to Cindy, these first-time homebuyers are buying $400,000 homes. I mean, you're getting these extravagant high-end homes, and I think so many people have watched their friends and family purchase those types of homes.
Yeah. But I think also it needs to start with education with our young people long before they get ready to buy, because when they come out of school, regardless of what their degree is in, so many young people, the first thing that they do is go buy an expensive car where they have a house payment or a car payment, which is going to affect their lifestyle. Yes.
Their ability.
And then going into these expensive apartment complexes because they have car washes and maybe a movie theater or all these different things. It's just not the best use of their money. I mean, I do know some young people now that are still living at home with their families so that they can save up money for these things. And again, it's just us educating our young people so that they are more prepared financially for the future.
Absolutely. I do think we need to step away and take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about ways that we can overcome and help you meet some of those expectations. So don't go away. We'll be back shortly. Real Estate Today with Cindi and Jody.
Yeah.
Yes.
Where's the light?
I think when we switch here, we're good, but we need to be sure. Okay, I think that went okay. Now is where it'll get really comfortable. Let's talk about ways around it. How can we overcome those? Be flexible, cosmetic needs, your building equity, then townhomes and condos, pros and cons, what's the difference, manufactured.
You sure you don't want to
levels.
start with the townhomes? I mean, because coming back in, talking about meeting expectations, well, one of the easiest ways to do that is townhomes and condos.
That's what I mean. Yeah, absolutely. So I said, this is not your forever home. We can skip that part. Be flexible to cosmetic needs, location, less square footage / bedrooms, and non-traditional housing options. Townhomes, condos, mobiles manufactured, and then if we can drag this out over the next two, we'll be good. Tell good morning. Say good morning.
I did.
Him. That fell. I was like, which I think you're a little bit.
Don't touch
Want me to
that.
scoot you over?
No, you're fine. Don't
You want to
touch
scoot
it.
over towards me? You want me close to me? You want to be my friend? No? KiaofCleveland.com.
Generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but it's
What?
90%
It's either poop or Viagra.
Be careful hitting the table. Where are our commercials? Can you see them?
Get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100%
Hims.
online process.
Betfair. Kia of Cleveland. Another Hims.
Where are you seeing that?
Right here.
Oh, I'm over here.
Get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but for 95%
We don't have a lot
less. It's the
of
same
commercial
medication,
options.
still prescribed by a licensed
You need to go
medical
sell
provider,
some.
but with zero
We need to get him to
We're
work
going
on,
to sell some.
if we can get him working on the podcast so that we have more of a
Yeah.
following.
You need to go to this exclusive address, hims.com/joy. That's hims.com/joy for your free online visit. HIMS.com/JOY.
Bill Lee Lockhart getting ready for the AFL season with incredible offers from FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. New customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed. Plus, bet $5 and get $100 off NFL Sunday ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Now, best time to join FanDuel. The app, easy to use.
I don't know, do we want to ask any questions or anything for participation?
I don't know what to ask.
Kick off the NFL season with an offer you don't want to miss.
And I mean, if we're going to plant somebody, remind me next time and I'll tell somebody to call.
Real money wager only, $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as a non-withdrawable bonus bet that expires 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Any problem? Call Kia Redline 1-800-389-9789. NFL Sunday ticket offer ends 9/18/2023. Refund. $100 off NFL Sunday ticket, not YouTube TV. YouTube TV base plan required to watch YouTube TV. Redemption requires a Google account and current form of
My nose itches.
Excluded. Subscription renews. Cancel anytime.
It's 23 commercials. Here we go.
Cindi Jody is presented by Affordability. If you're looking for the easiest stress-free way to sell a home, look no further than Affordability. Get the best guaranteed offer on your home in 24 hours with no showings, repairs, or problems. Go to offersinstantly.com or call 205-INFO for more details.
Welcome back to Real Estate Today. I am Cindy and this is Jody. Today we are talking about affordability in the housing market, and we've actually got some different alternatives to talk about.
Yeah, ways we can overcome. When we left, we were talking about you want it all. You want the big, beautiful home. We're talking, we're kind of targeting today to first-time home buyers, but I think this is true for anybody, no matter what your situation is. I think we're just in a different situation, and we've been a little spoiled the last few years with really low interest rates and being able to get everything that you've ever wanted in a house. And what does that look like now? But there are some ways around that.
There are still good deals out there, and there are still things for first-time home buyers.
And I think, especially with first-time home buyers, it's important to understand that you're buying an investment, not your forever home. How often do we hear,
Right.
I'm never moving?
Right. What the reality is, you're buying for the stage of life that you are in now.
I think I've said 3 times, this is my forever home. I'm building my forever home. This like 3 times. That never happens. Statistically, in our area, every 2 to 2.5 years, people are selling. And like
Yeah.
Cindy said, most of the time that's because life
In all
doesn't-
reality, everybody's moving in the next 3 to 7 years.
Yeah, life doesn't really give you a choice sometimes. So, again, talking about things generationally that have changed. I think most of our parents bought a house and stayed in it 20 years. That is not the case anymore. So, ways we can get around that. I think the biggest thing is flexibility. Things like cosmetic needs. Are you buying your forever home? No. And if you take it from that approach, if it needs a little bit of paint, some wallpaper
What you
removal,
can't change is the location and the actual bones of the home. You can add on, but if you plan on doing anything like that to enlarge a home or anything, you need to be aware of what is around it. You don't want to be the largest in the area. You don't want to overdevelop for the area. But if you're buying a home that you can add on to and do things to without outpricing it for the area, it's a perfect investment. And try to make those changes and learn to do the maintenance and the upgrades to a home while you're young and you're in your first time, your first home.
and you're living in it. I mean, a house that you can live in and do things like change carpet, put new countertops in, do things to increase your equity. And sometimes it's not even about equity. Sometimes it's about sellability. What were the things about it that you didn't love that you can change so that when it is time for that either to turn into an investment or a resale,
It
you've done those
shocks
things.
me when I walk into a home with somebody and they say that they don't like it because of the paint colors or, the colors,
Yeah.
decor. That to me is mind-blowing. Cabinets can be painted. Walls can be painted. Paint is one of the most inexpensive things that you can do to a home.
And again, I think that just harkens back to the fact that we've gotten spoiled with you could buy so much house for the money, and we're not there anymore. And I don't know, honestly, that we'll ever be there. This is much more of a normal situation than the alternative. So other things, think about location, being flexible. Are you willing to go out a little bit? That may, if you're not in a very specific, sometimes you need to be in a very specific location, but if you're not, you may have more options in availability and also in financing. You get some alternatives there. Less square footage and non-traditional housing options. So this is going to...
And on the square footage, don't be just completely married to an idea of how much minimum square foot you need, because depending on the layout, 1,500 square foot in a home with no halls can feel very, very different than 1,500 square foot in
Chopped
a home
up.
that is chopped up. Yes.
Yeah.
So, you need to go into different ones so that you can fill them, because, homes live completely different.
And I think flexibility, period. We so often minimum of square footage on a minimum of 1,500 square feet on an acre. You just eliminated 90% of the availability out there. So like Cindi said, walk through it, see what works, see what's changeable. And if it is, you got to be in a certain school zone, great. You got to be a certain place for work, great. Outside of that, be flexible.
Yeah.
Just go look.
And a good option are townhomes. And you're seeing a lot of builders that have started, not started, but for several years now have been building townhomes, because for them, their biggest obstacle is the cost of building. Well, by building townhomes, they put more doors that they can sell so that they can make them more affordable.
And I think blessed at the time we were a little overwhelmed, but years ago we got into selling townhomes, building townhomes, and kind of inadvertently became very, very versed in that. And because of that, I think we really do have a special view on those. Townhomes are an amazing option.
And with townhomes, you have the same ownership that you have with a single family home. So you still have a platted lot, you own the exterior, you own the land, you own the mineral rights, you own absolutely everything that you would with a home.
And it finances, that's another
Just
thing
like a
too.
home.
Finances and insures just like a freestanding home, which is a huge advantage. And I think for me, especially in the past working with buyers, the thing about a townhome is you're getting those really high-end finishes. You're getting a house that feels like a,
They're putting a whole lot of punch in a
$400,000
little
home.
package.
Yeah,
yes.
you're getting
The
extensive
trim
trim,
work.
yeah.
Yes.
Granite, upgraded appliances, lots of extras that you're not going to get. And I think what is true is, with a lot of non-traditional housing options, they get a bad rap because you're connected. But it's also important to understand what you're getting for that. I think for me, another thing that you don't really realize till you think about it is location. You're getting oftentimes a prime location because those builders need to be within the city limits, have access to city sewer. So very convenient, very centrally located typically to services and things like that. So you're
And
not...
a lot of people feel like with townhomes that you're going to have big monthly fees, and that's not necessarily true. Every community is going to vary. Some of them may they may do the yard. Some of them may offer some services, but that is not always the case, because a townhome, again, is just like a house. So you do not have any large HOA fees that are mandatory. Condos are a very different thing, but townhomes, it's just like a house.
So, and just for the sake of argument, let's talk pros and cons, okay? You are connected, okay? You're giving up a little bit of square footage, and maybe some privacy with that because you are in a multi-family situation. A lot of times you're giving up things like garages and so on and so forth, but that just harkens back to being flexible. What is important? What is doable for you. And if you really want those high-end finishes, bang for your buck, to
Right.
feel like you're not giving up that luxury that you're used to in your apartment complex, it really is the best of
Right,
both worlds.
right, and it's not like an apartment complex.
Not at all.
Because you do have the 2-hour firewalls that are in between the units, so they are a little more insulated so that you're not listening to your neighbor.
Well, and that's what I was actually going to ask that. Ways that they're built to protect me for somebody that doesn't know and maximize my value and comfort. So you mentioned firewalls. What do they do to floor plans in those to maybe flip those? So
Yeah,
that
I
we're
mean,
not-
it depends on the development and the builder, but yeah, they may flip them so that, your living spaces are in different areas.
those shared walls are not, your living rooms are not touching each other. So builders have put a lot of time and energy into maximizing that space.
And if you're in again, builders are not all created the same, so you have to pay attention to the townhomes that you're in. But in the ones that I know that we represent, they do make sure that everybody has a distinct driveway, so you know exactly where your piece of land is. Your gutters end at your house. It's not ran all the way across the building. Roof lines, you can tell where your roof line is, so that if you replace yours and your neighbor does not replace theirs, you're not affecting each other.
And that's important to point out. Just like we mentioned, they finance just like a freestanding home. They insure like a freestanding home. So if, heaven forbid, there's a problem, the roof is ripped off your section of the building and it doesn't damage yours, but it damages your neighbors, you're not responsible for that. One thing that our builders do is they really make the outside of those buildings look like distinctive houses that touch each other,
Right.
if that makes sense.
Right.
So you can very easily see
What's
where
yours and
mine
what's
stops
not.
and Cindy's
Right.
starts. So not only does that help aesthetically, but I do think it helps from a what is yours and
Well,
mine
nobody wants their
standpoint.
neighbor's gutter ending on your land.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So, I mean, when you're with an experienced builder that's experienced in building townhomes, they are going to make sure that everybody's gutters and driveways and everything are on their land and not across everybody's.
And Cindy mentioned briefly, you don't have any big, condos. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about condos, but you don't have condo fees associations, but you may have restrictions. That's important to notice. But a lot of our builders, specify you can only have certain types of fence or that sort of thing, but you're allowed to have that. So that also gives you a private backyard, an area to
then
still feel like you have your own
typically,
space.
your homeowner's insurance is slightly cheaper in the townhomes too than what they are in a single family home. So that's an advantage too. If you have a middle unit, your utilities might be a little bit cheaper because you're insulated on two sides.
Yeah.
Now, an end one's nice to have because you do have that side yard.
So it's all about what's important to you.
Exactly.
We're going to take one more quick break, step away, and when we come back, we're going to talk about condos as an alternative and how those differ from townhomes. So stay with us. This is Real Estate Today with Cindi and Jody.
Look what I brought y'all, muffins.
No, you didn't. You're our
Blueberry
favorite.
muffins from the bread basket.
Yes.
That is awesome.
I just wanted to just check and make sure y'all don't need anything doing this show. You're okay?
We're good.
Unless you want to song and dance back here for us.
You want me to send
We're like
some?
Jed
Do you want me to
Mescon.
send y'all some suggestions like we talked about?
Sure.
Yeah. Yes.
Get us.
Okay.
Very good.
Huh? Hey, I am here for it.
Are the commercials sounding okay? Have you heard
Yeah,
any?
I just heard it. Yeah, it sounded really good.
Okay. The ones that
Yeah.
I'm doing?
Yes.
You sure? Okay.
Yeah, that's the first time I've heard it, was this morning. But yes, it sounds great.
Yeah, because I've been doing live ones.
Oh, no, I haven't
Oh
heard
no,
you.
I haven't heard that.
I haven't done any recorded.
I swear that was you this morning. Was that Kevin still? Who was talking about us? I swear that was your voice.
Sure wasn't Barbara.
No, it was a man, but it didn't sound like Kevin. I thought it was Jed.
No, I've been doing live reads.
Oh, and I was going to reach
When are
out
you
to
when?
Jessica. That's her name, right? Here.
No. D.
The one we had lunch with. It was said.
Yeah, Deanna.
Because she knows the tiny home guys.
Right.
I want to ask them because we were going to talk about add tiny homes into our episode, talking about condos, townhomes, and
Oh, Jed, this is good.
Listen, yeah,
alternatives, 'cause I
I'm
would
doing
love to
live
do a show
reads
with
for
them.
y'all.
Yeah, no.
Find out in a second.
Yeah, I'm doing.
Okay.
I'm doing.
I wonder if they
live.
recorded you, because I don't think that was Kevin. It sounded different.
They could have pulled it from the scammer.
Is it one about the guy who was bankrupt?
No, when are you When are you on? When are we here?
I have it 3 times. 3 times, I think.
Morning press.
God, that's good.
We'll pay attention now.
We're not used to that, you know. We're not used to somebody loving us, Jed.
Oh, absolutely. I'm just checking to make sure y'all
How are you
love
enjoying
anything. It's great. We're going to be switching it up. So Brian Joyce will be going by himself from 10 to 12. And then JR and I will be from 6 to 9. And then Max and Brad will be. So, if we plug y'all too, so don't forget to listen to y'all.
What time are you on right now?
6 to
6 to
10.
9.
6 to
So
10.
just to make sure, Max and Brad will be going on right before Sport Talk.
No,
No. Okay. Sorry, I thought
we're
that's what
going
you were
on
saying.
from 9 to 10 in the morning.
9 to 10. Okay.
And then Brad will be from 10 to 12.
I know how much you love when I eat on air.
Yeah,
I just
I
forgot.
thought that when you pulled it
I
out.
just
All right,
forgot
well, just
that I'm
let me know what y'all
It's
need.
good seeing you.
It's so good to see y'all. I just wanted to make sure everything was okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jed, we're not used to anybody liking us. We don't know what to do. Jesse's the only one that loves us around here.
Yeah, I'm just so sorry because they sent you the commercials.
I bet they sent it to our marketing.
They don't tell us anything. We just work for them too.
Yeah, and I've been. I said I used the one about the woman who got married, or the one who got, you know.
Oh, I'm so sad that we
I
haven't
know.
played those.
Well, we need to find them
I
so
need
we
to
can
look. I
plug
can
them
put
out
the
there.
email.
And
Yeah.
then I do the one about the guy who was going through a bankruptcy and you sold his house in 8 days.
Yeah, we need to.
Okay. Please, and you always let me know if you're not happy on the Saturdays. All right, enjoy your muffins.
Thanks, Jed.
Thank you. He's so sweet.
Would y'all like any diet Dr. Peppers?
Yes.
Top here? Just take a case.
You're talking her
You're
language.
speaking my love language. Muffins and Diet Dr.
Uh-huh.
Pepper. I'm in love, Jed.
She may never leave.
So we have Coke gives us stuff every month, and it just sits up on top. So take a case,
Sweet.
whatever you want.
Thank you. That's free.
Okay, where are we at?
We're going to talk condos for just a minute, and then we'll get into mobile homes.
In just a minute.
Well, I mean, we didn't talk about condos at all. So let's talk about the difference between condos.
Yeah, because we got 9 minutes.
Jesse, one of these days, I'm going to turn this camera around so they can watch you dance.
Welcome back to Real Estate Today. I am Cindy and this is Jody. Today we are talking about affordability in housing.
Yep. Ways you can get in there. In a market that I know can seem kind of impossible and daunting right now, there are still lots of really good options out there, and it's never a bad time to buy a house. You know, I love, there's a shirt in real estate that says, don't wait to buy real estate and wait. And I think that's such a good analogy. You know, if your money's going to be sitting somewhere, it might as well be sitting somewhere that is doing
Appreciating.
something for you. Yep. Whether that's putting a roof over your head or building some generational wealth for you and your family. So,
So townhomes are just like residential homes,
Yep.
just like single
We
family
left, we were talking about townhomes, yep.
Except you are connected to your neighbor.
and you get a lot of pretty for your money.
Yes, but your ownership is exactly like a single family home. You own the lot, you own the mineral rights, you own absolutely everything just like a house. Now a condo, which is wonderful, is a completely different animal. On a condo, you only own inside the walls.
She's
so
right.
you do not own outside the walls. But with that comes a whole lot of amenities. So on a condo, you are going to have monthly fees, but that's going to cover the maintenance of your exterior. That's going to include landscaping, that some of them even include pest control. Some have internet, pools, all kinds of different amenities.
And I think it's interesting when you kind of step back and take a look at it from perspective. A lot of the same issues that are facing first-time homebuyers are also facing downsizers.
Mm-hmm.
Those people that are moving from their large single-family home to a stage in life where they're empty nesters, they want less square footage. A lot of times that also comes with I don't want as much maintenance. I want activities. I want availability. And for a lot of young professionals, we talked at the start of the show about how the average age of your first-time homebuyer now is 36 years old. If you're a young professional with a very demanding career, you're mid to late 30s, and you want a situation where you've got those amenities and the nice things you want, but you don't have the time or the energy or the availability to do exterior maintenance, worry about things of that sort, but you miss that pool, that commons area, that gym, the things that you were used to maybe in your rental.
And sometimes when you hear the price of the condo association fees, it may seem a little high, like if they say, let's just throw one out there and say $400 a month. But then when you break it down, if you are in a single family home, how much are you paying for your landscaping care monthly? So even if you're doing it yourself, you still have to have a lawnmower, you still have to have the time to do it, you still are weeding your flower beds, you're still replacing your flowers annually. And then how much are you paying to pressure wash the house?
Yeah.
How much are you paying for, insurance on the exterior of your home?
Yeah.
So when you add up all the amenities that they're going to offer versus that $400 a month, it's not nearly as big as you think, especially if they're offering a pool or, commons areas.
I dealt with one a couple weeks ago that the HOA fee was, or the condo association fee was $190 a month, which
It's cheap.
is cheap, all things considered. That is all if all of the units had hardy siding, which is a cement fiber formed siding that can be damaged, that does need to be painted, does have some maintenance and upkeep that goes along with that. All of that is included. Pressure washing quarterly, all your landscaping, your trees,
In
everything.
condo, your homeowner's insurance is very, very different. So your homeowner's insurance is going to be quite a bit cheaper because the condo association is going to have
Maintains it.
Yes, they're going to have the master plan and they're going to have the insurance on the exterior of the home. So if a storm does come through and tears the roof off, then the HOA is going to pay the deductible to put the roof back on. That's all in your association dues. Now, when looking at a condo, you do need to look at the financials of the HOA to make sure that they have the reserve and the ability to do the maintenance and the things that needs to be done.
And that's very important, dependent on the amenities as well. If you have a pool, if you have a large, central commons area, if you've got a gym, you need to make sure that those reserve funds are healthy enough that if, God forbid, something happens, there's the money there to do that without assessing everybody a large fee.
Correct.
So just important to really understand what all is included, what that entails, what happens if something happens, what their thoughts are. One other thing that I do want to point out is sometimes condo financing can be a little different. They don't finance necessarily like a traditional home. That doesn't necessarily knock you out, but it's something that you need to make sure you have a conversation with your lender.
Well, even on townhomes and condos, both, it's when the builder or developer is developing and building those, they have to do certain things to make sure that they are eligible for FHA or VA or anything like that. So you need to know that before you get your hopes up on one. And most of these that will not go with any type of Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac backed loans, a lot of the agents that list those will direct you in what banks have programs for those.
Yeah, and it's just important to understand, to really understand the fine print, like Cindy said, before you get your hopes up and something doesn't work. So it's doable. I do see a lot more downsizers in condos than first-time home buyers, but it's not impossible. You just need to understand how
But
that
they're really
how
good
that
for
looks.
both. I mean, because even in this area, I know 36 is the average age nationwide for first-time
Not
home
here.
buyers, but in Tennessee, in this area, it is much younger than that. So you don't automatically know how to keep up the yard. You don't automatically know that
Or
you
have
have
the
to flip your
equipment to
mulch.
do that.
Yes,
That's
yes.
another thing,
so with a
too.
condo, you're kind of easing in there where you've got somebody maintaining the exterior and a lot of the big things with the home, and you are just maintaining the inside. So that is a great step for first-time home buyers to do that first. But then I agree with you, people that downsize or that, are just very busy. It's a great alternative. It's
You've
very
spent years
affordable.
doing yard work. You don't want to do that anymore.
Yes, yes.
The other thing that I will just throw this in here really quickly is if you're looking at it for a long-term investment, let's say you're a first-time home buyer, you want to keep it, and you're thinking down the road, I'll settle down, figure out what I'm going to do, buy a single-family home, I want to keep this as a rental. Make sure you look at those restrictions before you start.
And your type of loan.
Absolutely.
So FHA will allow you to rent it as long as you've occupied it as your primary, and that's you're buying it with the intent of your primary. But some of the 100% programs will not allow you to rent something later.
Okay, so we don't have a bunch of time before we have to take a quick break again, but while we've got a few minutes, let's be a little controversial here. The other, when we're talking non-traditional options, one of the things that I'm seeing a really big increase in is mobile and manufactured homes.
Huge increase.
Yeah, give me some thoughts. Why are those a good option?
Very affordable, and you get a whole lot more square foot, and typically you get a little bit more land.
So this is the person that a condo or a townhome will not work for, okay? Because you have a large family, you need square footage, you need bedrooms.
You have
and
4 large dogs.
That is something that you are forfeiting with a condo or a townhome, and you may be in a life situation where forfeiting that is not an option. So mobile homes
are not the mobile homes of the 80s. I mean, they have come a very long way.
I would say this, and if we're talking pros and cons, the most important thing that you can do before you even attempt to go down the road of purchasing a mobile or manufactured home is deal with a realtor and a lender that understands manufactured and mobile homes, what that looks like, what you need to look for so that your interests are protected. We joke at the office, I very unintentionally became the mobile home expert a couple years ago, and I will say this, my opinion changed very, very strongly about what a great option they are for people. My eyes were wide opened about the little things that you have to do and the things that you have to know. There's a lot of nuances that you have to understand. But if you can find
a lot of title work that needs to happen prior to it going on the market to make sure that it is financeable. But if those things are done, then it can be financed with FHA, VA, any of the government-backed loans.
And you're getting a lot of those finishes that you would get in much larger site-built homes. Like Cindy said, land, privacy, and a lot of people right now want to build a home, and then they are slapped in the face when they realize the cost of building materials and what getting a construction loan looks like. This gives you, in a lot of cases, the option to have additional land. So let's say years down the road, that is something that can come to fruition for you. You have the space to do that. We won't go off on a giant tangent about that, but if
you
you're
have
interested,
any individual questions, feel free to reach out to us too.
Yes, feel free to reach out to us at rg423.com. Call us at the office 423-790-7979. We'll be happy to help you. But great option for people that are looking for an alternative.
Okay.
We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to wrap it up, talk about some other things that you need to consider for affordable housing in this market.
The issues that matter to you.
We need proper representation.
The news that hits close to home.
We live in a society where everybody is offended.
Talk 102.3 WGOW FM. This week's Food Giver of the Week is A3 Accounting. A3 Accounting serves clients with a wide variety of business needs, ranging from A to Z. You may ask,
I mean, I feel bad, but I wanted to say to Jen, dude, we don't even know when you're on the radio. Like, I don't even know when you're on the
It
radio.
doesn't pick up well in Cleveland, just to be honest. I guess we do need to.
We probably should be friendly with him, so he
Yeah,
won't
he
talk
seemed
good
a little
about us.
perturbed with us, not listening.
Well, I didn't even know when he was on. I didn't realize he was on the radio. Is that awful to say?
Text Jordan and ask her if she has the spots that he read. Maybe we need to be posting them and tag him on social media too. See if you're his friend on social media. Friend him.
Excuse me, what was that?
Go ahead if you want it.
Oh no, I'm good.
She won't eat it. I will eat it on
Why
air.
don't you eat it?
Oh, I can't do it on air. Absolutely not. Not after after she come in here hungover that time, was eating on air, and I made fun of her. Everybody still talks about Jody eating on the air.
I mean, are you hungover? No, I mean,
I was that day though.
Oh, she
bad.
was. That's why she was eating.
I was so sick. I was like, if I didn't eat that oatmeal, I was literally going to vomit on this table.
We ain't even gonna try to record this week, right? We're just gonna run a rerun next week.
Oh yeah, we're going to be out of town.
Yeah.
We won't be here.
We got our company retreat.
Where you're retreating off to?
Where are we going?
Granville,
Tennessee.
Granville. Never heard of it.
north
It's
of Cookville.
A little, what would you call this place?
Mayberry.
Grand?
It's a.
It's literally Mayberry.
It's this little hotel thing. It's got.
It
hotel
reminds
and
me of Dirty
cottages on
Dancing.
this-
Have you ever
yes,
seen Dirty
that's
Dancing?
exactly what it felt. It's like this little
Well, the whole
resort thing.
town that band's dancing?
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
that's
It's-
Footloose.
Yeah, right.
and it's on a lake. Is it on?
It literally is the Dirty Dancing retreat.
Yeah.
I carried a watermelon.
Oh my God! I hope we get dance lessons. I hope that's
Can
one
you
of the
play
team
something
events.
off Dirty Dancing? What can we play?
Oh my goodness! Please tell me you're going to come up carrying a watermelon.
Oh, 100%. You want me to? And when you say, where have you been? I'm going to say, I carried a watermelon. You want me to dance down the bridge?
Is there a bridge?
Or should I?
Yeah, no, because that will hit the internet. I don't need that.
Look at me.
Look at my face. Did you see my face? Yeah, and when you pick your bathing suit, make sure you're bringing your mom's suit.
God, why are you all on my business?
Just reeling you in. That's all I'm doing.
I'm not Joni.
I'm just reeling you in. Joni also did not get in front of people.
Joni's
She didn't go to people's
vagina
homes.
was hanging out
She
of
did not go to people's homes.
still.
Quit putting your forehead in the camera.
Would you like me to just sit back and eat? I'm trying to lean forward so you can't see me.
I'm not sure which one of those I prefer. Did you see that last email? They were not real pleased with me not coming for the next barbecue commercial. Did you
just
see
want your
that?
money. This is a new one. I'm like, really? What's she gonna do? Sit on your lap? You
I
gonna
mean,
carry her
I'll
like
give
a
them that.
baby?
I mean, I read it. It's a damn good commercial, but we're barely even using the other ones.
Got it.
What are we doing?
You'll see.
Want your house sold for top dollar? The Richardson Group.
That's Kevin still in.
No, that's Bill.
Bill?
Lockhart.
Well, in my defense, it's not Kevin. I knew it was somebody different's voice.
Leave this jet off.
I made Jed mad.
He's offended. Welcome back to Real Estate Today. I'm Cindy and this is Jody. Today we are talking about affordability in housing.
Ways you can get in a house in a market that seems impossible sometimes. So, y'all are missing it. Jesse and the dance show. A little dirty dancing theme song back there. He carried a watermelon, in case anybody's wondering. Okay, so let's talk about some things to consider.
Well, we talked about alternatives to affordable housing because we know that that's the hot topic right now, the buzzword. But there are good buys out there, and good alternatives are townhomes, condos, mobile homes.
Yeah, lots of ways to get there. And just like we always say, seek the advice of professionals that you trust, whether that's us, somebody else, a lender. Kind of figure out what your options are. I think it's important to understand or to have a really honest conversation with your spouse, with your family, about your goals, your motivation, what
financing.
what the end game looks like, so that you can figure that out. What are your deal breakers? What are your non-negotiables? The things that you're not willing to budge on, and then what things are you willing to concede on? Because it's very easy to get lost when you start actually looking. Things that weren't
it's
important
like,
become really important.
to me, it's just a little bit amazing too. Like when you walk into somewhere and a young couple will say they absolutely have to have 3 bedrooms because they have 2 kids, or they have to have 4 bedrooms because they need one for a family to visit.
Yeah.
And
how often realistically does that happen?
Well,
Yeah.
your family can afford to get a hotel room. You don't need to carry extra monthly debt just so that you can have that extra room that will be used a couple of times. So
Right.
you really have to weigh out your needs and your wants.
And your situation right now.
Right.
And I get a lot of people, like Cindy said, I see a lot of, we want to be able to, if we have another child, or when this happens, or when that happens. And like we said, statistically, every 2 to 2.5 years in this area, people are selling their home. So, again, the things that are non-negotiable to you are non-negotiable, and that's totally fine. But you need to decide on the front end, because it's much easier for us to continue to point you back towards your motivation if we've had a really honest conversation about what that is, and that needs to happen first at home.
And
You
there's a
guys
lot
need
of
to
good
decide.
financing options out there too for first-time home buyers that still have good interest rates. So talk to your professional and talk to them about how much you should put down, because you may be surprised at how many of them tell you not to put large down payments, because you can use that money to still have your little nest egg should something need maintenance at the home. It's not going to make, I think we were running the other day on $250,000. 3.5% first.
10% down, yeah, it was like $100.
Yeah, it was less than 200 that you were saving per month. So then you have to weigh out whether it's worth depleting your savings to put that to save $200 a month, especially if it's a home that you're only going to be in for 3 to 5 years. When you look at $200 a month, you might be better off to keep that savings account.
I had a lender friend who's still a very trusted partner of ours tell me very early on in my home buying process, one of my very first homes, and he said to me, "Don't do that. Don't," because I was going to put 10 or 15% down, and he's like, "Don't do that. Keep that money in your pocket. Use it in case there's an emergency, and if you have extra on a monthly basis, put that towards the
your
principal
Right.
of your payment."
And talk to your tax advisor, because as a renter, you have no type of deductions on your housing. But if you are a homeowner, then you can deduct your interest. So find out how much that's going to save you in a year, how much that saves you in taxes, so that you can see if you're going to have to pay $200 or $300 more to own a home, are you making that back on your tax advantage?
And it's important, you're still going to have, people get little bits of information and say things like, "Well, I don't want to have PMI." Well, unless you're putting down 20%, another 5% is not going to make a difference in you having PMI or not. And some loan programs, you're going to have it no matter what, no matter how long you have the loan. So just important to understand what that looks like, know all your options, reach out to professionals, talk to people that you trust. We would love to help you at the Richardson Group, richardsongroup.com, 423-790-790. If you have any questions, call us. And if not, we'll see you next week.